Now, if you think the question is, how much do I need to enter a new market? That's the wrong question. The right one is, which costs are you actually calculating? Because startup costs and ongoing running costs are two completely different numbers. A market entry budget has two distinct layers, and you must size them separately before you get your number. Bucket 1 is one-time costs. Things like business registration, equipment, insurance, initial marketing, software licenses, premises deposits. According to First Formations, a UK startup cost ranges from under £1,000 for a home-based sole trader to £50,000 or more for a trade business with premises and equipment. Your business model drives that range, not the market. Bucket 2 is recurring monthly costs. Rent, payroll, subscriptions, ongoing marketing, accountancy. These are your survival costs, the expenses that keep the business running until revenue is consistent. Lumping both buckets together and calling it a budget tells you almost nothing about how long your capital will actually last. That's where most plans fall apart before the new market entry even begins. So once you have both buckets, Zero's guidance gives you a formula. One-time costs plus monthly recurring costs multiplied by 3 to 6 months plus a contingency of 10 to 20% on the total. The multiplier is your runway assumption. A service business selling to other businesses might see revenue in a few weeks. A product business building distribution could take 6 months or more. Use the multiplier that fits your model, not the optimistic one. Business model choices shift both buckets significantly. DIY versus outsourcing, home-based versus premises, organic versus paid marketing. Two businesses entering the same sector with different models can have entry budgets that differ by a factor of 5. There is no universal benchmark. Anyone offering you one is giving you a false prediction. The formula gives you a range, not a guarantee. A defensible figure you can stress test is worth far more than a confident number built on incomplete assumptions. So there are 3 failure scenarios that come up repeatedly. First is underestimating runway. If you budget 3 months of operating costs and the market takes 5 to respond, you run out before you've had a real test. Second is missing infrastructure costs. Things like banking setup, technology systems, compliance, transaction fees. These can get expensive and sit between your one-time and recurring buckets and are easy to omit because they don't feel like either. Operational infrastructure is one of the consistently underestimated cost categories in new market entry. Third, cutting marketing when cash gets tight. In the entry phase, marketing generates your first customers. Cut it early and you extend the runway problem rather than solving it. So treat it as a fixed cost during entry, not a variable you can trim down. The 10 to 20% contingency is not padding. It's the line that keeps your entry viable when costs run longer or higher than expected, and they usually do. Only 47% of UK business startups survive to year 3. Hidden costs, slower revenue, and budget overruns are the norm, not the exception. The contingency absorbs the gap between your plan and reality. So here's a decision. Total your one-time costs. Multiply monthly recurring by at least 3 months, or 6 if your sales cycle is long and your model unproven. Add 10 to 20% on top, and lean toward 20 if you have compliance requirements or physical premises. That number is your entry commitment, not a benchmark borrowed from another business, a figure built from your own model with a buffer that keeps you in the game long enough to find out if it works. If that was of value, subscribe to the channel for one real business question answered every video. For the same clarity in writing, the website and newsletter is 5minutebusiness.com.